Oh, hey, look at this. I haven't seen this guy around lurking in the shadows for a while. It's known miscreant Matt Lloyd, otherwise known around here as the Creeper. And we don't mean that in a bad way. Matt Lloyd says, what do you see as the primary duty of a good person? Primary duty of a good person, I would say, is to be good. Matt, you know? I mean, I know that sounds simple, but it's really the answer. It's not. Foghorn, I think we have a call sign. I think we have a call sign, Foghorn. There'll be a slight delay as the response comes back in. But Creeper's pretty cool. That's a good call sign. I really like it, actually. It's the best one I've heard, and we've played around with a bunch of them. Yeah, come on, Foghorn. Everybody in the squadron has a tactical call sign. I'm Skid. Foghorn is Foghorn. Known miscreant Matt Lloyd there has been around for. He's one of the co-founders of the Republic. He's got to have a call sign. He's been NTCS for 100 years. Just give him a name. I say we vote for Creeper, and I say we vote for it in the comments section of the Twitch page on the Stratosphere Lounge. All in favor of yeah, it could be cool, couldn't it? If anybody has any, I'm only refereeing this because Foghorn doesn't have the microphone. Although, if you've ever been in his presence, you realize he doesn't really need a microphone. He can pretty much talk to anybody in the country just by kind of leaning out the window. I know, no alcohol, nothing. But if anybody else has, we got to do something. So if anybody else has any other suggestions before we agree on Creeper, I'm more than happy to do that. I think certainly we can, at the very least, spend the rest of the evening pumping in something that we may find better than that. But I'll just keep my eye on that. Back to the question. What do you see as the primary duty of a good person? I think it's being good. I think the primary virtue of a good person is courage. I think courage is the primary virtue, and I think nothing happens without courage. And speaking as a guy who was really pretty afraid of a lot of things for most of the first half of my life anyway, until I started flying, courage is actually something you can learn. I really do. I think it's a trait you can acquire, and I think the way you acquire it is you just start. You start. What's the word I'm looking for? You just start preparing yourself for the worst. What's the worst that can happen? What would I do? If you're being taken out someplace to be shot and you're going to be shot, there's nothing you can do about that. So you're going to go out in style, or are you going to go out like a mewling crybaby? I'm certainly voting for mewling crybaby, but some people, the more you think about these kind of things, the easier it actually gets. So I think the primary duty of a good person, Matt, is to protect the weak. And that's so funny, isn't it? That this would be the first thing that we Nazis would, we social Darwinist Nazis would. What the hell was that? Somebody just fluttered through the back. But I would say that it would be to protect the weak. That's what civilization is. That's what humanity is. Is the opposite of this. Only the strong survive. So it's, there's been a bug behind me all night. Well, that's not going to last. Next time I see that little bastard, we're going to have a discussion. Protecting the weak and using strength and controlled violence and keeping it controlled and only exercising it when it is the last resort to protect good people from bad people. That's probably pretty simple, but it's good enough for me. Good people good people defend the weak, and good people are honest. They're not honest because they might get caught. They're just intrinsically honest. The idea of walking away with like if somebody gave you an extra $20 in change or something, it becomes intolerable. It's just a fundamental daily honesty. Some of the things we talked about a little bit on that, the center holds right angle. It's just the kind of common working class values, courtesy, friendliness, helpfulness. All of these are qualities of good people. But ultimately, it comes down to having the courage to be willing to do what you have to do to defend people who are weaker than you are. And sometimes the hardest part of this courage thing is the moral courage. I've taken a lot of flack over the years for being an insert the blankophobe, and it stings. I really don't like it at all. But sometimes you have to have the moral courage to say. Sometimes you have to have the moral courage to say that those people need to be killed because they're murderers, and they're thieves and they're rapists, and they are continuing to do this, and they need to be killed. That's not an easy thing to do. Sometimes this idea of being a good person and this kind of, we're going to go down. We may all become extinct, but we will never fight. We'll have our virtue intact when we go under, kind of Star Trek thing with was it the Organians or something? We will not defend ourselves. We don't believe in violence. We will not defend ourselves. We'll all willingly die before we'll fight or hurt somebody or kill somebody. I just find that really kind of repulsive and disturbing. I remember one of the first things I ever wrote back in the eject days was, what the hell was it? Something about the right to defend yourself is important because if all the good people are dead, then there's nobody going to be there to stop the bad people, and no good people to stop the bad people from. So, this is the part about courage and strength that's sometimes hard. It's like it's not just the physical courage; it's the courage to say, don't make us do this, because if you do, we will. I remember, was it Golda Meir, I think, said, we can forgive the Arabs for killing our children, but we can never forgive them for forcing us to kill theirs, something much like that. It's really true. And good people don't have to be necessarily personable people, but they're not aggressively cratchety people. In other words, you can have the marshal be a real silent guy, doesn't say much, but you can't really have the marshal be like the guy who's also a good guy, and at the same time he's constantly bitching about the weather or how, just somehow just, or somebody needs to clean up this horse manure. I've been saying this for 40 years now. I get Festus. How come nobody's? It's like no. So I think it's actually pretty straightforward, but I would say courage and the willingness to defend people weaker than you.